Today I'll be replacing the water pump on a 2018 Honda Accord with the 1.5 liter engine in it. So I'm gonna bring you along with me step by step as I replace the water pump. Have to remove this air hose, and also we're gonna have to remove the belt tensioner for the dry belt. So we're gonna start by removing these clamps, and you'll need a 5.5 millimeter. I'm also gonna pull out these 10 millimeter bolts right here and right here. Now I'm gonna remove these two small air hoses. Grab a small pick and get up in between here. Next, we're gonna work on clearing this side out and removing this air pipe that goes to your turbocharger. So we pull out the washer fluid filler net. And next we're gonna pull out this coolant reservoir. We really can just set this off to the side. All right, so down here we got a bracket that holds the coolant reservoir in. We're gonna pull that out. So now we're gonna work on removing this wire harness and also these small air tubes so that we can get to this air pipe that connects to the turbo. Unplug this wire harness, and then we'll be able to move it out the way. So now we're gonna just pull these air hoses off. Grab some pliers and pull these clamps back, and then you will need a pick in order to pull the wires off, but they're pretty small. Now you want to remove this air hose right here, pull this clamp back, and you have two bolts at the bottom. So these bolts down here are 12 millimeter. Yeah, one of those is a bolt, one is a nut. After you get those off, you should be able to remove this. There we go. And that's it. So next you're gonna remove this bracket right here, and then you're gonna remove the heat shield. And the reason why we're removing all this is because you have a bolt that's on the back of the water pump that has to come out in order to remove the water pump. So right here we have a 12 millimeter. But before you remove it, make sure you pull these wires out of it. Next, we're going to remove this heat shield right here, so to give us access to the back side of this water pump. Also, we need to move this wire harness out of the way. This is a pretty tight spot, so in order to get it, I used a 1/4 inch ratchet and a 1/4 inch 10 millimeter socket. That's the bracket. Okay, so now that we got that bracket off, you can see the bolt that we need to remove. I have a small mirror to show it. It's on the back side of the water pump. So we need to remove that, and we have one more behind the water pump that isn't as complicated to access, but we're gonna need to remove both of those in order to get the water pump out. So like I said, to get that bolt out, we're gonna go behind the turbo with an extension to remove the bolt. But before we do that, we're gonna go ahead and remove the drive belt and the tensioner, and then we're gonna drain the coolant since we got all the hard work out the way. And the hardest part will be getting that bolt. So you'll need a 19 millimeter for this belt tensioner. And you want to release the tension and pull the belt off. Okay. We're gonna drain the coolant, and then we're gonna pull that belt tensioner out. So now that we got the car jacked up in the air, you can see the petcock from right here. So you want to go ahead and open it up. Make sure you got something under it to catch the coolant. It's not really that tight, so. And we'll let that drain out. And while it's draining, we're gonna go ahead and take the wheel off on the passenger side. 19 millimeter socket. Alright, so now you want to remove these two clips so that you can access the drive belt tensioner. So this belt tensioner has two 14mm screws, one right here and one that we can access from up top. The other one is right there. That's the second 14mm. So we'll take both of those out and we'll be able to remove the belt tensioner. All right, I got that first one out up top. I'm gonna work on getting this one out. All right, that's the tensioner pulley. Okay, so we got everything out the way. We got the belt tensioner pulley off. And now the hardest part is just getting the two bolts from the back of the water pump. Once we get those off, we have 3 bolts in the front to pull off. And then we should be able to remove the water pump, clean the surface, put the new gasket on and the new water pump. And then we'll be good to put everything back together. So let's get it. All right, so now I'm realizing that I need to remove this bracket right here. It's really in the way of me trying to get my extension behind there and line it up. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. All right, I got the bolt out. Now I'm gonna take a magnet, go in the opposite way and pull it out. And that's it right there. So I ended up putting a few extensions together, 3 short extensions and a swivel socket with a short 10mm on 3/8. And then I put a little bit of electrical tape around the swivel just so it wouldn't swivel as much. So it wouldn't have too much play in it, so I could get back there with some control and get the bolt out. So that was the hard bolt. Now we're gonna get the other bolt out, and then we got 3 in the front. Now the next hard part is getting that same bolt back into place. Okay, so now all we have left is to remove this bolt right here, which isn't as complicated. And the only thing in our way is this coolant line, and then there's a small bracket bolt right up under it right here. So we remove both of those and make sure you have something under there to catch that coolant. Now we're gonna remove those 2. All right, so we got those 2 front water pump bolts up. For the third one, you'll need to turn the pulley and line up one of the holes so that you can stick it through and get onto that third bolt right there. That's the only way you can access that bolt. All right, now I got all the bolts out. Now once I give it a few pulls, it should come off. A lot of coolant will come pouring out, so make sure you have something to catch the coolant under the car. And that's it. It's off now. So next what you want to do is clean the surface before putting the new water pump and gasket on. So make sure the surface is clean. All right, so I wiped down the surface. Next I'm gonna put the new gasket in the new water pump. So a good tip is to take your new water pump gasket and just lubricate it, put a light coat of coolant just on the gasket so it isn't dry when you put it in, and there's no way that the gasket will get pinched. And that's all you need, just to coat it and put it in place. And for this gasket, all you need to do is push down on it, and there are like small little tabs that will catch the gasket and hold it in place. Okay, so next what I'm gonna do is put on the new water pump and put in all the bolts. I'm gonna hand tighten the bolts, and before I tighten any one down, I'm gonna make sure that the water pump is sitting flush with the surface so that we don't have any leaks or anything that will cause the water pump to not seat properly. So we're gonna hand tighten all the bolts first, and then we'll go back and tighten them down. All right, I'm back to this bolt on the rear, putting it back in now. All the other bolts are in. I haven't tightened them down, just hand tight right now. And I tape the bolt into the socket just so it wouldn't fall out going behind the turbo. I don't have any magnetic sockets, so that would really help, but I'm just doing what I can with what I got. All right, so I got all the bolts seated and tightened down. So the new water pump is on. That bolt in the rear is pretty tedious. It took a little bit of time, but I got it on there. We good to go. I'm about to put everything back together, fill the cooling system up, and hope it's not leaking. I'm pretty sure it's not, but you know, you gotta verify it. So let's do it. All right, so now that we're putting everything back together, you wanna make sure that you reconnect everything you disconnected, so you don't have to go back. You won't have to go back into this job to basically connect a sensor that you forgot, like these. So make sure you reconnect everything and double check yourself, triple check yourself on the way as you build everything back together. Just keep checking yourself. Make sure you don't forget. It's worth the hassle because you don't want to get finished with the job, fill it up with coolant, and crank the car, and you have an engine light on for a sensor that's being blocked by everything. You got to retake it apart again. Now I'm gonna put the tensioner pulley back on and putting a brand new drive belt on. All right, so now I got everything back together. I'm just gonna fill the system up with coolant, run the engine, and make sure we don't have any leaks. and I double checked everything, make sure I plugged everything up, so we should be good. All right, so that's it. How to replace a water pump on a 2018 Honda Accord with a 1.5 liter engine without taking off the turbo. It took a little longer than expected, but you definitely could get it done faster with, more tools. I had to rig a few tools up in order to get the job done, but it all worked out. Came out good, no leaks. So yeah, if this video was helpful, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.